74% of Mississippians own their home, all while the state being the number one ranked in poverty stats. And so I started pondering that and trying to make sense of it. How could a place that has the worst numbers when it comes to poverty also lead in home ownership? When I hear that, I'm looking for opportunities to see if I can't supply that housing. And so checking out a couple of markets, doing some research, and asking folks that live in the area of Mississippi that I'm looking in. Those stats can be misleading in that a lot of those people inherited homes that they got passed down. A lot of those folks are able to own homes in the area because home prices have not increased as much as they have in the major metropolitan statistical areas. And it makes sense. More people, more jobs, more money, lower supply, higher costs, right? And so the numbers could be misleading. But that aside, the understanding of control, having your own, was something that was underlying and overwhelming in the folks that I was speaking with as I'm looking for additional property in Mississippi. Because I know a lot of you guys out there are looking to go to areas where the cost of living is lower. So if you don't want to pay for the maintenance and so on and so forth, that's an opportunity for those of us that are willing to do. And so what I hope that you get from this video today is that ownership matters. And it's not the parroted talking points that most people online are talking about. Those folks that don't have a profile picture, that have a private account, and all they do is troll, respond to why the stock market is better than the housing market. But you don't know who those folks are. And I would place a hefty bet, and I'm not a betting man, that they're just trolls. They're sitting in the basement. They're living with their mother, their father, grandmother, and they're just talking about their fears to get a reaction to be seen. And so those of you that are in the middle, not talking to those of you that are ready and you understand the benefits of home ownership during June, which is home ownership month here in these United States. And I'm not talking to that 5 to maybe 10%. We'll call it 5%. 5% of folks that ain't never going to do nothing, right? All they're going to do is tell you why you shouldn't do what you do so that it makes them feel better. But I'm talking to you guys in the middle, those of you that are trying to make a decision on what it is that you want to do. And a part of that decision is, should I move to a different state, city, where housing seems to be lower? I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, in that now that we have this great thing called the internet, for all of the lovely things that it provides, it also gives information that used to be hidden, or not hidden, but not easily accessible. And so now folks get online and they share information where markets that are less in cost, where they are. And so people that can and have that desire and motivation to do, they move around, which causes more competition. And so for those of you that are contemplating different geographical locations, understand that the word is out. If you know about it, other people know as well. And here's the deal. You're going to said destination. We'll use Mississippi as an example, with the mindset that the cost of living is cheaper there, but you're coming from a mindset where your dollar is, you're used to spending a higher percentage of your dollar for housing. Let's put it like that. So the colonization of these states that you guys are running to, those of you that don't go to a different country with that mindset, I'm going to take the US dollar and go put the people out that are there. That's a whole nother video, but the incumbents in these states that you're moving to, say like Mississippi, what you may not realize is what I led in with the video. Most of these folks own their homes and they've been owning for a long time. And so the inventory in a lot of these places is not as plentiful because of everything that's going on in the economy. And so the rent, although it's something that you might consider more affordable because it's based on where you're coming from, also those folks like myself and incumbents in the state that have that information and they see you out of towners moving in, what you think they're going to do with the rent, man? Especially good businessmen and women. And so to the local people, to the incumbents, they might be like, ain't no way I'm going to pay that. And for those of you that are in those places and have been in a race to the bottom and have adjusted your mindset, your drive, and your work ethic to match that, you're in trouble because competition is coming. And they got more dollars and they're willing to spend them because where they're coming from, $1,500 a month might not be a lot to them. To whereas where you are, $1,500 a month might be crazy because we all have recency bias and past bias. You base everything off of the past. And those of us that can force yourself to deal with the present are going to be better off for it because inflation has always been in full effect. So here is what I would challenge those of you in the middle. We'll call it 5% that know they want to buy. They're probably in the process of determining what loan type, what professional that they want to deal with. And then we talked about that 5% that ain't going to do nothing, but tell you what you shouldn't do. They're going to tell you about the boogeyman, right? And then there's 90% of you guys in the middle trying to make that decision. So in all you're getting, get that understanding that wherever you go, other folks are probably going to make the same move. So action is better than contemplation and probability studies. If that's what you want to do, you better hurry up and get to where you're going because other people are pulling the trigger, if you will. They're moving on the information, and it's just like anything else, man. The early bird gets the worm. So don't be that person on a hamster wheel always complaining about you feel like you've been done wrong because you're in the wilderness walking around. I've had to adjust my mindset over the years as it pertains to business. I used to have a mindset that a certain class of people had benefits, that it was just baked in the cake and there was no way that I could compete. Although that might be true in some cases, the bigger percentage has to do with me and what and how I'm showing up and conducting business. You see, when I looked at myself, I had to challenge myself. And guess what? My daughter had to help me. Ain't that crazy? There's somebody in your life that is going to, if they love you, as Mike said, MJ, rest in peace. You got to look at the man or the woman in the mirror and really challenge yourself and say, is this what's really going on? In my case, it wasn't. In a majority of the situations that I've been in, that was just something comfortable for me to say so that I didn't have to deal with insecurity or fears that I might have about not being successful if I moved. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Since this the first day of the week and most of you guys go to church, let me throw some scriptures in there. And I'm not trying to use this to manipulate you to buy anything. I'm not selling anything. When I talk to you, it's really from the heart. And I have a love, mi corazón, to help people. I really do. And so sometimes you drop certain things in to get your attention. Because some of y'all is church folks. I used to be one as well. But the scriptures say study to show yourself approved. So that's probably why you're doing this. If I've come up on your algorithm somewhere along the line, you said, I want to know about housing information, specifically owning a home, because I'm a lender. My NMLS license number is 180100. Disregard the wardrobe and the background. This is real life, baby. And as I stated, the early bird gets the worm. And so back to the scriptures, I had the 2 Timothy 2 and 15, 16, not just for my spirit, man, but the secular stuff too. It says study to show yourself approved. So I'm out here studying the market. You got to take action if you're in that 90%, because you're the only one that's going to be able to make the choice. I'm here, as I stated, as a lender, NMLS license number 180100, to help you check those boxes to make sure that you make the best decision for you and your family. Because one great thing coming out of 2008 in the housing market debacle is the concept that you must know before you owe. I'm going to go back to the scriptures. The scripture says, consider the full matter. So you got to understand where you're going. If home prices have been historically low, like in Mississippi, why is that? Well, it's a very close correlation to incomes. Do they have jobs there? Or are you really remote where you can go to a different location and work? Well, that's an arbitrage. You got a moat. You might be able to fly in. I don't know if the locals gonna like you if a bunch of y'all come in with your highfalutin ways, but time will tell. So do your research, take a step out and find out where it is that you want to live. Are the incomes there? Can you port your job by you porting yourself to that location, right? And be able to have a higher wage in a lower cost of living area. But understand this, back to the internet, these employers know this as well. And they're not going to be paying you California prices if you living in MI, what is it? MI cricket letter I, cricket letter I, humpback I. They might adjust your income. So understand all these things when you get ready to move forward. And if you're in that 90%, let's cut it in half, right? 45% of you guys are still making that decision, trying to figure out who you want to trust in going forward. The other 45, you know what? I got my guy, I got my gal, I know what I want to do. Okay. Now I need to know the tactics. Here's the deal. In the description of this video, there's an application checklist. Download the checklist. Gather your documents. Why do I say that? Well, it's a fact-finding mission for you. Most of you guys will realize you don't have a grasp on where that information is. And if you ask me, your pay stubs, your tax returns, your W-2s, your social security card, your driver's license, that's current and is not expired with the right address. If you gather these things, okay, then when you start watching these videos, we can give you some actionable steps to take, but you know what you're working from, your information. Not a theory or not from someone online, especially not from the hater that I just talked about 3 times in the video that don't have no profile picture and their account is private and all they got is a bunch of comments, because that's what they do, right? But you'll be basing it off of your information, and that's how you go from thinking and dreaming about homeownership to becoming a homeowner like 74% of folks in Mississippi. Now, if I could be of assistance to you and you're ready to take that next step and you've been watching for however long you watch and you say, hey, Robert, you're my guy, here's what you do. Click the link in the pinned comment or the description of this video, schedule a consultation. Conversation. I want to hear what it is that you are trying to achieve. I'll ask some exploratory questions. Then we decide if there's a fit, if we want to go together. And if that's the case, then we'll go to the next step. If you're not there and you're in your quest, you're in that other 45%, you're trying to figure it out. Well, here's the deal. Watch these videos here that I've curated just for you to continue your education. So there you have it. Rob's in the field. Remember, man, the early bird gets the worm. Get up, get out, get some. Be good to one another. Let grace abound and stay blessed. Indeed.